Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. This is the Roundtable. This is a segment where we bring an expert to help us understand the hot topics in the news today. And today we have one of the best in the business. We have Ogaga Ifowodo, who is a columnist for Sahara Reporters. He is a professor at Texas State University, and he's a writer, a poet, he's everything. Ogaga, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start by, let's look at this news that happened yesterday, the tragic killing of people, students in elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut. What does that say about America?
Let me resort to a well-known saying. If you live, or I'll just put a spin on it, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I think in the case of America, you live by the gun, you die by the gun. I'm sad that it has got to the point where we can say this, but anybody who has a heart beating in his chest is devastated, is heartbroken, as Obama put it, by this development. How many more killings, how many more mass shootings are going to happen before America will come to its senses? What is this love of the gun? It may have won the West for America. It may have won America for America. Let's put it that way. But does America have to die by the gun? So I don't know how else to put it. I live in Texas, as you put it, before we got on air. It's probably the gun capital of the world. But funnily enough, all the shootings have been taking place in Texas. So I think the matter goes beyond Texas and people want to own guns per se to a certain mass psychosis. There's something I would like to describe that way that's overtaking America, a fear, unreasonable fear that somebody is going to come and take away their liberty. And then if you add to that all the pressures of modern day living, it creates this hysteria and psychosis that ends up manifesting itself in this way. Because very often we are told, oh, the shooter has a history of mental illness. That has been said of the Colorado shootings. That has been said now of the person who shot 20 kids and 6 adults at a primary school, killed his mother and killed himself. But the question we have to ask is it America alone that has people with mental illness? If it's not America alone that has an exclusive, preserve of mental illness, then why is it that those who are mentally ill in America always reach for their guns? So I think it's time America talks sensibly. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Because I heard an interruption, so I thought maybe...
No,
yeah,
wait.
So the question now is, when is America going to talk sensibly about gun control? I don't think it can be dodged any longer, and I would love to see what Obama has to do about that.
Now, are you worried, based on news report we're getting, that the guns used were owned by this teacher, the mother of the mom of this man, the suspect? Is that a concern to you?
It is a concern, and it is part of what I'm talking about, the gun culture, the culture itself. The thing that makes guns literally as harmless and ubiquitous in the eyes of most Americans as toys, things that you just keep around, loaded or unloaded. And supposedly you can defend it by a recourse to any idea, sporting idea, hunting idea, the idea that you need it to preserve the integrity of your home and defend yourself against intruders, all kinds of ideas. But so it is disturbing. It's really, really disturbing that a woman, a kindergarten teacher, would have guns in her house, and not only have them in the house, have them so accessible and easy to reach that the son can just get hold of them and do whatever he wanted to do with them. And like I said earlier, that if you live by the gun, you die by the gun, tragically, it becomes the case here, So yes, I am concerned, deeply concerned.
Now you are an attorney, and you know about the Second Amendment, which talks about the right to bear arms. Have you looked at it critically? Is it really the right for anybody to bear any arm, if you want submachine gun, assault weapons? Is that what they meant, the founding fathers, or are we misinterpreting what that section of the Constitution should be?
Well, I'm not an expert on American constitutional law, but what I do know about it, from what I've read, all I've read about it, it is being misinterpreted. It is not true. It was a right reserved to the militia. Reserved to the militia. All citizens are not automatically militia. That means when you need to raise a civil populace, a civil army, in self-defense to repel an attack or to rise against a government that has become manifestly tyrannical. That is what it is. And many people have pointed this out, but you know, of course, the power of the NRA and the right-wing extremists who believe that the definition of liberty is the ownership of guns. That is on the one side. Now, on the other side is what kind of guns? People who defend the right to bear arms for hunting and sporting purposes do not need assault rifles with magazines that can fire up to 500 rounds. These are weapons of mass destruction, weapons used in war. In fact, at the time that the Second Amendment was enacted, nobody envisaged these kinds of guns. These kinds of guns are manifestations of advances in technology that were not there at the time that these amendments were made. I dare say that no founding father, no statesman would have created a constitutional right to bear, to carry and be armed with assault rifles. Nobody. What would you need them for? They can only cause a kind of mass shootings and mass trauma that they induce in the populace that we have been witnessing since Columbine, since, we could keep naming them, all the many instances where people have gone on rampage and caused a heavy trauma to the psyche of the people. So no, that amendment is being misinterpreted. Individuals are not militias and therefore should not be entitled to bear arms, on an everyday basis. And even if they were to be militias, the right to bear those arms will be under strict control, the command of superior officers. They will not be used on everyday, civil society, everyday basis in civil society. We are not at war, so that question does not even arise.
So are you seeing any hope that there could be a change, that America could start controlling the purchase and the uses of firearms in the country?
We have to hope. We have to hope, because if you be following American public discourse in recent times, most especially ever since Obama became president, you will know that reason has long taken a one-way exit out of the country for most of the time. This should be, like they say that we say here, it should be a no-brainer. Why? It's almost like giving a hunting knife. Let's even say just a kitchen knife, very sharp kitchen knife, to a baby, to a toddler in the kitchen, and saying he has a right, to learn about kitchen equipment or something, or implements. It's almost as senseless as that. If that child then slices off his hand or hurts himself, who do you blame? It is so patently clear that something has to be done, that the wonder, the real scandal of it is that nothing is being done. That the NRA can actually go after any politician who says that is interested in gun control, supposedly because they're defending the right to liberty. So the liberty is a gun. So if liberty, freedom equals gun, then America should be the freest country in the world. It should be the safest country in the world. But it isn't. The very fact that we keep talking about it, keep equating a gun with liberty, means that there's something awfully wrong. And a free and peaceful society shouldn't need guns. And the question is, why are all those Nordic European countries, much freer than America, more peaceful than America, whereas they don't have a gun culture as we do here?
Now, before yesterday, we were planning to talk about the kidnapping of the mother of the finance minister in Nigeria. I know you just came back from Nigeria. Were you at any point, this happened, you came back before the incident, were you at any point concerned about kidnapping in Nigeria while you were there?
Well, you know how it is, Rudolph. You know, when you are in the country, you don't feel under siege. You don't feel like any moment you're going to be kidnapped. But at the same time, when you think back and recall all those who have been kidnapped, some of whom you may know, the thought is somewhere at the back of your mind. I'm saying that I didn't feel at every point in time any sense of insecurity. But that said, I know Hope Egaga personally. I knew him long before he became a commissioner in the state government, and he was kidnapped. I know Professor Gigi Dara. I've known him long before he he entered the state government. His daughter was kidnapped. Even the cousin of the governor of the state was kidnapped. The son of the secretary to the state government, Comrade Vuzoye Macaulay, was kidnapped. And on. Then Edo State. In Edo State, the wife of the Attorney General was kidnapped. And I know the Attorney General. I've known him since he was a lecturer at the University of Benin. So when you remember that the people you know, and I've not exhausted the list, have been kidnapped. Yes, the thought is there at the back of your mind. It's not conscious, it is not in front of your mind, but at the back of your mind, anything could happen. You know that generally. Still, I didn't feel any sense of insecurity. However, I will be going back shortly after Christmas. But I can tell you now that I will be thinking of it more than I did when I was home the last time, simply because it can happen to anybody. It's blind chance. It's almost like the shooting we're talking about before we started discussing the kidnapping in Nigeria. You know that chances that the shooting will take place at the shopping mall where you are or the school where your kid attends are low. But still, it is a probability. It can happen. Because who is to tell where it's going to happen next?
Now, what is your take on the whole kidnapping of Professor Okonjo, the mother of the Minister of Finance? The way it happened, the way she was freed. What is your take in the whole episode?
Well, I actually sent a Facebook rant. You know, I call it a rant now because I was so angry. You know, when it happened, it is my thoughts go from one spectrum to another, or let's say they go across a spectrum. At one end of it is the general insecurity and the mass poverty, the pauperization of the people, and how, for instance, a graduate could be looking for work for 10 years. And you know that the youth unemployment rate in Nigeria, according to the figures, is somewhere around 70%. No nation on earth can ever hope for peace if 70% of its youth, educated or not educated, are unemployed. No nation. And we're talking only about the youth before we talk about the adult population. Now, on top of all that is the obscene display of wealth, especially by people in government. Of course, it's no secret that we are being stolen blind by our leaders. So the unemployed, the mass of the people who cannot count on a single square meal a day, watch as the resources of the country are being stolen and drained into private pockets, and see huge mansions rise everywhere, see expensive luxurious cars flying roads that are not fit, you know, for motoring purposes, and watch them live large. What is going to happen? Something is going to happen. And I think that we are reaping the fruits of the seeds we planted by not developing the public space, by not creating an enabling environment that one will employ and make it possible for people to employ themselves, by destroying everything of value in the country. That's on the one hand. Then the other is security. We have a whole array of government security agencies, from the police to the state security service to the military intelligence agency to the national intelligence agency. So many out there. But they cannot bring a single kidnapper to court, charge him so that it will serve as deterrence. If anything, what we have witnessed is the quiet payment of ransom to kidnappers. Everyone in the world knows that you don't pay kidnappers, just like you don't pay blackmailers. So we are paying kidnappers and we expect them to stop kidnapping people. The government has failed in its duty to protect the people, to maintain peace, order, and good governance. And this is why we're having this situation. The last thing I'm going to say about this is that recently the conversation about state police came up, and somehow the consensus or maybe the decision of the government was that if state police is allowed, then they will be used as tools of intimidation and oppression and self-perpetuation in government by the various state governors. Well, the news is that that is already happening with or without the state police. But we can at least have the benefit of the state police. The state governments more or less fund their state commands. And what is more is that you have local police officers who know the terrain better. Policing has got to do with knowing the terrain, knowing the people, being able to get intelligence reports from people who know who is there. When you say report any suspicious activity around you, it's because you know the people, and when they start behaving in a suspicious manner, then you can tell. But if you don't know the people and you don't know the terrain, you don't even know what is suspicious. And then what is even worse is that we are now learning that the kidnappers are getting support from inside. They get collaboration from members of the police themselves. Just like the policemen have been traditionally, right from the time of Lawrence Anini, have been buying guns for and cooperating with armed robbers. So we really need to sanitize our security system. We really need to decentralize our security system, especially the police, and we need to let the state set up its own, police, departments, which will work in collaboration with the federal police. It doesn't mean we abandon the federal police. It will become something like the relationship between state police departments and the FBI, where federal offenses are concerned. It is a simple thing. It's all tied into the question of a proper federation that we'll be talking about for so long. This is one of the reasons why Nigeria is where it is, because we don't have a proper federation and we do not do things to honor the principle and idea of a federation. So it's a whole lot of things, from poverty, from corruption to a centralized policing system that is no good to cover over 160 million people over such a vast terrain in Nigeria. Those are my thoughts for now. And if the kidnapping and thankfully release of Professor Okonjo Iweala will help us come to our senses, then perhaps something good may have come out of it.
Yeah, I was about to ask you if you think we've reached the tipping point, but let me go to the state police issue. Why is it that the federal government and some people are resisting this idea of state police?
It's the same old thing. It's the same old thing. The same reason why they resist a sovereign national conference. Because they are entrenched interest. Look at it. Isn't the president better off having one police force that is answerable to him than to have to deal with some state police command somewhere answerable to a state governor who may not be a member of his party? This myopia, the idea that you have to control everything, control all the money, control all the resources, control everything from education, everything. When you look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is laughable. The things that are in the exclusive legislative list. And the things that are in the concurrent legislative list, as you know, once the federal government has entered, then it takes the ground away from the state governments.
The opponents of state police, they always say that Nigeria is not matured enough for a state police. I don't understand that. Do you understand what that expression means, that Nigeria is not matured enough for?
You know it's a cop out. You know it's a cop out. You know that's just rationalization. It's like saying that Nigeria was not ripe for independence, isn't it?
Yeah.
When are people ever ripe for anything? You decide to do what you have to do and you do it. The proof that we are ripe is this. We are having a discussion. The proof that we are ripe for state police is that we are a federation. You don't need any more proof than that we are a federation. And by the way, we've had state police, at least what comes close to state police before. The native authority, police wasn't a federal police. They were answerable to the regional governments.
Now, there is a constitutional review going on as we speak. I don't think the civil society is taking it as a serious thing. I don't think most Nigerians really care. The government is saying this is your chance to go there and make the changes you want to make. Why is it not being taken as a serious situation, a way to change the country?
Because that's not the way to make a constitution. This is what we'll be doing. This is the same thing we'll be doing. Every time government, calls some people together and then they say they are reviewing the constitution. In fact, we have regressed. The 1979 constitution, the process that led to it, it was more democratic. Then we had a constituent assembly. Then we had a constitutional review committee, right? A constitutional drafting committee. I remember it was chaired by the late F.R.A. Williams. So we have regressed. Rather than being more democratic, more people-driven, more popular, we have become more tyrannical, more, narrower in scope, in the way we approach constitution making. That is no way to make a constitution. And it's a waste of time, quite frankly speaking. If we are serious about laying down a solid foundation for the country, the way to go about it is not to go to the National Assembly, most of the members of whom were not popularly elected. They were rigged into office, and they don't even know what real constitution making is. They don't even know what democracy means. They don't even know what federalism means. So they are not prepared to respect the ideals that are inherent in all these concepts that they keep mouthing about. So if we are serious about laying a solid foundation for the country, we should start with a sovereign national conference. We should first discuss what kind of country do we want? How is it to be structured? And once we have agreed on that basic framework, then we have to draw up a constitution to reflect that construct, that framework. Here we are putting, as they say, the horse before the cart, and the cart before the horse. We're putting the cart before the horse. Now, which we have to pull which? So the people have to drive the constitution-making process. They have to say, this is what we want. And after they have expressed that through a sovereign national conference, or if they hate the word so much, the word sovereign so much, any popular congress of the people where they will freely express their wishes about the country they want, then we can start a constitution drafting process. It won't be a constitutional review committee, because we are not going to review a military document forced down our throats. We have to then have a constitution drafting committee that will draw up that constitution. Now, then you have popular participation.
Now, this has been going on for a long time. The people who run the country keep running the country, keep embezzling money. The people on the other side opposing keep saying we have to do it the right way. How long do you think we can sustain this move in terms of both sides not doing something really, both sides, the other side not challenging the people who are running the country, because they continue to embezzle funds, they continue to live large, and time continues to go?
Well, one thing I can say for sure, I resorted to that famous Nigerian saying popularized by Zeke: no condition is permanent. No condition is permanent. That's for sure. So we can bet on it that things will not go on like this forever. How long it will take is another question. But who can look into the seeds of time and tell which we grow? We can't. But we do know that the way things are going, it can't be too far off that day when the change we all desire will come about. It always requires one thing. It always requires, you never know what mix, the chemicals, the social materials that will end up, becoming combustible once they come together. But you can bet on it that that moment will come we've had very close calls, since the last real uprising of the people, which was over the June 12, 1993, events, election that were annulled by the military. We have had many close calls. But you see, Nigeria is complex. And because of the way the public space has been totally demolished, and people have resiled into their various ethnic enclaves, it's been very hard to pull together back to the center, to have everybody refocus on the center and do that which is needful to sanitize it. But you can bet on it that it's not too far off, because really, how much longer can this sort of nonsense go on? How much? Something we give, and I can't tell you when, but something we give. We just have to keep, we just have to keep raising consciousness, making people aware, and not keep quiet and not say, oh, all is lost, and then we give up, because that is the worst thing. It's when we stop talking about what is going on. It's when we stop talking about the rot. That is when nothing will happen. But if we keep talking about the rot, and now and then there will be skirmishes, believe me, they will all amount to something someday.
Now, I'm talking about rots. Last week or early this week, there was a government magic that happened in Abuja. I don't know if you followed. The government approved a supplementary budget of 161 billion for 3 weeks. This is money to pay for oil subsidy. The initial budget was 800 and something billion at the beginning of the year that was supposed to last for the whole year. But 3 weeks to the end of the year, they said, oh, we are out of money. There won't be petrol, there won't be gas, there won't be anything for the country. So they approved 161 billion. How are people in Nigeria taking all these things, hearing all these billions and billions of naira being spent and embezzled and without any accountability? What is happening?
Well, you know my take on it. It's not too long ago, I wrote an op-ed for The Guardian, which was also published on Sahara, called Coming Soon, Trillion Naira Thefts. Because one thing you will discover is that we no longer speak in millions in Nigeria, let alone thousands. Nobody counts in thousands. People in government, at any rate, don't count in thousands or millions. It's always in billions. So, and I keep wondering, is a billion naira 100 naira or something? They are going to build a banquet hall. They are going to expand a banquet hall in Abuja. I'm sure you read about that.
Yeah.
And how much are they voting for? 7 billion or something?
Yes.
They want to build a
Vice President's house.
Vice President's house.
3.3.
Yeah, for which billions already been allocated. Now they want more billions, and so everything is in billions. So that very soon we will not even be counting in billions. It will be in trillions. It's coming very soon. So the question is, I don't know how they come about these figures in government. I don't know where they buy the things they buy, because we all build houses, or at least we know people who are building houses. We know the market where they sell building materials. We also know how much crude oil costs per barrel in the international market. So somehow, when it comes to Nigeria, everything becomes gold dust. Everything becomes gold dust. It's no longer just crude oil. It's no longer just cement. It's no longer just sand. It is no longer just iron rods. Everything becomes gold. Once it is Nigerian government talking, it's got to do with the Nigerian government. So I guess that's the only way in which it makes sense. I cannot pretend to tell you how to make sense out of it. As to whether Nigerian people are noticing, trust me, Rudolph, they are noticing. They are noticing. You only need to hear you only need people to be in the streets and listen to the things they say once they are in the streets. Like during the Occupy Nigeria, during the protest against the oil subsidy scandal, with which Jonathan bid us Happy New Year, 2012. You only need to listen to the things they say when they're in the streets. So they are listening, they're paying attention, they know, and the day of reckoning is coming. These billions and trillions will be regurgitated one day. That is a given.
Now, one last question. We are running out of time. The world is coming to an end on the December 21st. I hope you are aware. How are you preparing for the end of the world?
I'm already prepared to meet my maker on that day. I'm at peace with my maker.
For a typical Nigerian, there are a group of people who really believe that this is going to happen, and are they all right?
Listen, we're in a country where people will go and give their tithes to a pastor so they can buy a private jet. We're in a country where people will give everything they have to the pastor so that he can build a private university that his or her children cannot attend. So once it comes to religion, once it comes to faith, once it comes to evidence of things not seen and the conviction of things hoped for, I've given up on Christians and all people of faith. I have faith of a different kind, but not of the religious kind. So I will leave those people who believe that the world is going to end in a week's time or next year or 20 years' time. Fine with them. They can prepare. They can. Why even wait? Why don't they just ask God to make it end today? All I can say to them is that the world will not end. And we wake up the next day after the day was supposed to end and realize that the world is still going on. That's all I can say to them.
Thank you, Ogaga, for coming on Sahara TV. We always appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much, Rudolph, businessman of God.
Okay, that was Ogaga Ifowodo, who gave us his own take on some of the things going on in Nigeria and around the world. When we come back, we are going to take your Skype calls. We'll give you the chance to weigh in. Tell us what you think about these things, and we'll be back. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Femi Kuti and the Positive Force.